Hey, welcome to Break the Board Friday, September the 13th. This is John, Friday the 13th. Be careful out there, be safe. This is John, your host, coming to you from Break the Board Sports, part of our team. If you could, please click subscribe down there on the bottom. You can go to breaktheboardsports.com, put in the promo code NFL50, all caps. It's going to get you all of our packages for 50% off, okay? All that will get you 5 to 12 college and NFL football plays, all the baseball plays as of right now. And if you sign up for a monthly, it throws in all the sports. So it's NBA, college hoops, hockey, the whole deal. Plus, you'll get quick hitter betting notes on all the football games to help you do your own handicapping. So, yes, we give you plays, but the main goal of Break the Board Sports is to help you become a better handicapper, right? So you can get in the information. We pull it from all kinds of places, put in little quick hitter notes, not that you get lost in some long paragraph short story. It's just bang, 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 7, 8, 9 main notes to help you get a betting edge no matter which way you want to go in the game. So check that out, breaktheboardsports.com, promo code NFL50. And if you could, please click subscribe. Before we get into the card, last night, Buffalo Bills cover, win outright, walk the dog on Tua. Tua goes down with another concussion. I know I talk about a lot of this stuff on the podcast I do with my brother, Busted Chops calling shots, but listen, Tua, you can't give him the money. I mean, that guy, he came and run back out on the field after that, right? The concussions are a real thing. Prayers his way. But, man, Miami, you've just fallen apart. And another thing I want to say, I know he looks cool and people like him. I even get a kick out of him sometimes. But McDaniel's not an NFL Super Bowl coach. Like, can you ever envision that guy holding up a Super Bowl trophy? Like, it's not going to happen. That guy looks like he should be playing Call of Duty with Kyler Murray. You know, yeah, he has some exotic little passes out to the flat, little quick hitters. But, man, as soon as you get up against the defensive coordinator and knows what he's doing, McDaniel gets crushed every time. They can't beat elite teams. After last night's win, Buffalo now has won 12 of the last 13 against them. The Dolphins stick a fork in them. They're done. Buffalo was just down people, right? But it also goes to show we finally got a dog to cover a primetime game. All 4 primetime games last week, the favorites rolled. Listen, when everybody's going one way, it's just like I heard over, right? And if you were holding the ticket that first half, you felt pretty good, and then it ended up going under. Again, you can survive in this if you just go against the public. So, just things to remember. Again, this is overreaction week. You've heard everybody talk about, I don't, want to hop on the bandwagon and sound like some smart guy. Everybody knows it's overreaction week. Please, please, please be very careful, right? Be very careful. You don't have to go play a bunch of games, keep you to 3 to 5 bets, real manageable. Don't put yourself out there to where you lose your bankroll and you get killed in week 2 of the NFL. Starting off, we got the Baltimore Ravens, who I took in my Survivor. Godspeed on that. So got one entry there. We had the Saints last week. We took the Ravens this week. But right now, the Ravens, it's bounced around a lot, okay? Opened up 7.5, saw it climb to 9.5. As of this morning, DraftKings has it at 8. It's kind of settled in, but it's all Ravens all the time here. 85% of the bets, 91% of the handle. For those of you that just might be new to sports betting, handle is the amount of money bet. 15% of bets going to the Raiders, 9% of the money going to the Raiders. Lamar Jackson has lost 3 straight games now, first half ATS. In the first half, he's 8-10-1 against the spread after a straight-up loss in there. Between weeks 1 and 2, Harbaugh, 22-11 ATS. That's the best in the NFL. Listen, what I saw from Gardner Minshew and the Raiders and Pierce's coaching, plus you got the extra days rest for the Ravens. Extra 3 days, actually, since they opened up at Kansas City. So I totally get why the Ravens are favored by this much. I totally understand it. Again, everybody's piling up on the Ravens. Now, I think the Ravens obviously win the game. If you have been following our TikTok yesterday, we gave out Bills Ravens teaser. Feel really good about that now. Feel like that one's almost locked. We did a 6-pointer, so we took Baltimore down to -1.5. minus 2.5, and we have Buffalo plus 8.5 on there. So that one's looking good for us. Just looking at the Raiders here on the road, 15-20, both straight up in ATS. Now, even though Pierce lost last week, he's 7-2-1 against the spread as the head coach of the Raiders over his 10 games. But again, just not a whole lot I felt thrilled about watching them. The Raiders, they got Devontae Adams, they got Bowers. They're going to hit some shots, don't get me wrong. And I think that Ravens D, though it stood up pretty well for the most part against the Chiefs, I'm not all that excited about it. But I do think the Ravens get across the finish line. So obviously we gave out the Bills-Ravens teaser. It's already passed. Look to pair the Ravens with some other people. Again, I know a lot of people, kind of raise eyebrows with me when I say, hey, I love 7-pointers. All right. Yeah, 6-point teaser. It might be minus 125, minus $1.30, but you shouldn't be playing a ton of teasers anyway. You should be looking for spots that fit it. And to me, laying minus 7 or laying a 7-point teaser, in the neighborhood of $1.40, that's fine, right? The 6 points I've never really truly understood. I know people talk about it getting across key numbers, but when you're getting that touchdown and the extra point, for me over the period of time as I've tracked, it's just a better way to go. So right now, Ravens holding at 8. There's a couple 8.5s out here right now. But if you could take the Ravens, let's say a 7-pointer, you could take the Ravens down to -1 and have it with like the Giants plus 8.5. Right now they're catching 1.5. You could have the Ravens -1 with who I think it's an ugly dog, but you could tease the Vikings up to plus 12.5, right? You get over the key numbers of 10, 11, right? Numbers that are obvious numbers you try to look for and get through. So you got a couple different options there. Hey, you could say you could take 2 home favorites and just say, hey, I'm basically going to get the Ravens and the Cowboys just to win. You could go with that, right? So a lot of different angles there, but definitely I would have your Ravens and your teasers. Wouldn't lay the 8 just because there's so much money and there's so many bets on the Ravens. I just don't want to walk the plank with the public there. So I'll take the hard pass. Next game on the docket, and this one seems to be getting back to normal for the most part, is the LA Chargers at the Carolina Panthers. Right now, the line is set in 5, over under 39.5. Now, this thing opened up 3.5 Chargers. It got all the way up to 6.5. Never touched 7 that I saw. Could have happened. I didn't see it. But now it's kind of settled into 5. 90% of bets, 87% of handle on the Chargers. 10% of bets and 13% of the handle on the Carolina Panthers. Justin Herbert in his career, 31-33 straight up and 33-30-1 ATS. Now, the Chargers were 3-5 against the spread on the road last year. Herbert, though, is really good on the road. Despite being a 500 quarterback ATS, below 500, 3 games over 500. He's 18-13 on the road. So Herbert much better on the road than he is at home. But you have the Chargers going all the way to the East Coast for a 1:00 game. Chargers are going to struggle to score, man. Harbaugh, credit to him. He's going to pound the rock. They're going to play defense. He's going to try to control time of possession. He's going to try not to get beat over the top. Right. And I know people say, Carolina just got destroyed by the Saints. Yeah, but again, I wouldn't overreact to it. I don't think the Chargers are no bargain. I don't think the Chargers should be laying points on the road to anybody in the NFL. Okay. So again, it's an ugly dog, but Carolina is definitely the side here. If you could still get a 6 out there, grab it, but I'm still comfortable with the +5. Again, I think Carolina's a great teaser opportunity. I know there's some books that offer some more exotic teasers. I know when I was out in Vegas last weekend, Circa had it where you could do a 3-team 10-pointer and you were laying like $1.35 juice, I believe it was, which wasn't bad, $1.40 juice. But you're getting to move it 10 points. So let's just play the game, right? If you took the Ravens and you could get them at like +2, because we feel good they're not going to lose, right? And now you could take Carolina You could take Carolina plus a 15 with like Tampa plus 17.5, or a Giants plus 11.5, or a Rams plus 11. So, again, I wouldn't fall totally in love and do a ton of them, but hey, pick your best one and throw it out there. You know what I mean? Throw you a 3-team 10-pointer. It's laying a little juice, but hey, what's my 3 games I feel the best about? And let's move them. I'm not a huge fan. I would do it with the Ravens this week, but I'm not a huge fan of taking a favorite to make them a dog. I'm more of a fan of taking a dog that's ugly, that's not getting a lot of money, and adding 7 to 10 points to them. Again, just for the value and just for being a contrarian. And again, handicapping is so much about numbers and where money's going. It's very much like the stock market. It's not all about, hey, I think this team's going to win because this team played poorly last week. Again, if that worked, nobody would go to work on Monday. They would just all sports bet. So, again, not always what your eyes tell you. Overall, Justin Herbert, second half spread, he's 2-11-3, 2 wins, 11 losses, 3 pushes, second half spread. The Chargers, I think a lot of that comes from, obviously, they had the horrible Staley coach that, go for it on 4th down and do a bunch of crazy stuff. But I don't think there's going to be a huge ATS difference with Herbert in the fact, like we talked about, Harbaugh loves to run the rock. He loves to pound the rock. So I think you're going to see a lot of that, especially in Carolina. There's no reason to put him in harm's way and start throwing the ball all over the yard. The total has gone under in the Chargers' last 6 of their last 7 games on the road. Remember, this is a very low total, setting at 39. Chargers, 6 of their last 7 games on the road have went to the under. And total, Chargers, 13 of their last 16 have went to the under. Carolina, under in their last 7 of their last 8 games at home. And remember, we talked about, how could you take Carolina, ugly dog, blah, 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 blah. Carolina 6-1 against the spread, their last 7 games against the Chargers. So again, Chargers going to that East Coast. We're going to go ahead and grab the points with the Carolina Panthers. That will be a play also that we give out on breaktheboardsports.com. Again, you can go there and get half off any package using the promo code NFL50, all caps. So if you wanted to get the whole first month, it'd be $14. I think it's a little over $14 to get all the notes, all the plays across all sports. Moving on down here. This one is one I'm really interested in watching. The New Orleans Saints at the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm a big Derek Carr guy. I mean, I don't think he's like an elite quarterback, but I just like him. And what I don't like is Dennis Allen, right? We've talked about Dennis Allen and how horrible of a coaching record he has, and how he's a head coach is beyond me again. How that guy keeps getting shots. Him and Raheem Morris, defensive head coaches that keep getting these head coaching jobs. I will never understand to save my life. Makes no sense. But right now, Dallas is sitting at 6. Now, this has never touched 7. 6.5 is the highest I've seen. Right now, DraftKings has it set at 6. 73% of the tickets are on Dallas. 85% of the handle on the Cowboys. The Saints are commanding 27% of the bets and only 15% of the handle. So, again, this is very much lopsided. We're on Friday. What the public's going to do, your pros versus Joes, a lot of your sharps, a lot of your professional bettors, their bets are already in. As to where your public's going to get into this thing after they get off work on Friday, they're setting, they got their DraftKings app, their FanDuel app, their Barstool app, their ESPN Bet app, their offshore app, whatever app they got, and they're just going to be sitting there firing off. Another tip, before you place one bet this weekend, right? And again, I encourage you, just give it a shot. It's like $5 for this weekend. Go down through the notes, take an hour of time, and write out what you're going to bet. And then only bet what you write down. Don't get in there and start firing off with that thing, right? That's exactly what they want you to do. So again, be disciplined. Discipline will get you across the finish line in sports betting. But this Dallas Saints game, I want to see how that works out. Now, Mike McCarthy's been lights out September and October. He's 71, 48, and 3 ATS That's the second best against the spread record in September and October over the last 20 years, only behind Bill Belichick. He's Mike McCarthy, 21-13-1 ATS within the first 2 weeks of the regular season. That's been pretty phenomenal. And just his time in Dallas, 4-0 straight up, 3-1 ATS with the Cowboys in week 2. Now, Allen, we talked about how bad Dennis Allen is. When he's a underdog of a field goal or more, 5-28 straight up. So if you're $100 better, you're down $1,677. Not a real good guy to follow there. After the Saints have won a game, so Dennis Allen with the Saints, after they've won a straight up game, he's 5-16-2 in his career is Dennis Allen. And his 5-16-2 against the spread, that's fifth worst of 144 coaches over the last 20 years. Just absolutely atrocious. Again, I don't know how this guy keeps getting jobs. Beyond me here. Now, Dallas, they're lights out at home. They're tough to beat there for sure. With New Orleans, they're 5-1 against the spread their last 6 games overall, and 5-1 straight up in their last 6. Again, we talked about Dallas at home. This is why I think Dallas is a great teaser opportunity with the Baltimore Ravens, just to get Dallas to win, is the fact that Dallas is 16-1 straight up their last 17 games at home. Dak played well. The Saints aren't going to be able to slow down Dallas. And as much as I like Derek Carr, I want to see how are the Saints with Olave and others, how are they going to be able to move the ball on Dallas? Again, Dallas is a much different animal when they're playing in Texas, right? When Dallas is at home, they play much better than they do on the road. So I'm very interested to see this. I expect the Cowboys to win. Again, I didn't use them in Survivor because I still think the Saints can put up points. And I don't really know what to make or think of the Saints. To make or think of the Saints. There we go. Don't really know what to do with them, as to where I know the Raiders are a really bad team. So that's why we shifted that around. Your over-under setting at 46.5. Everybody loves the over in this game. 77% of tickets and 87% of the handle is on the over, compared to just 13% of the handle on the under here. So again, I think Dallas is a great teaser opportunity. I think you put them with somebody like a Baltimore, it's really, really great value there. So that would be the recommendation for me on that one. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Detroit Lions. This one, 6-7. Finally, this thing gets up over 7.5. We got Detroit minus 7.5, over under 51.5. 68% of the bets on the Bucs, 32% of the bets on the Lions. However, the handle is split on this one right down the middle, 50-50. So again, that tells me you probably got a little bit more public as to where the Bucs are the trendy dog, right? Again, Detroit struggled against the Rams. Rams played them close last year. Bucs played them close to excuse me, apologize. Been fighting a cold. Bucs played them tough in the playoffs. Baker looked good. So again, your eyes are telling you, man, Tampa Bay looked really good. But I just want to remind you, it is Washington, and I've been a Washington Redskins fan my whole life, and I can just tell you they aim to disappoint. So I wouldn't put a whole lot of stock into Tampa, because remember, Todd Bowles is still the head coach there, and he hasn't did a very good job as a head coach. Baker, I like what he's doing, but they got to show it to me. Tampa's got to be consistent with this. I think you'll get a much better showing from Detroit this week. Right now, you got Tampa Bay 8-2 against the spread, their last 10 on the road. So look, Baker and company, they've been a covering machine. The total's gone over the mark, over the total. 4 of Tampa's last 5 games on the road. Now, Detroit, 5-0 straight up, 7-1 against the spread their last 8 games. Again, I think either way you win in a 7-point teaser with this, I think taking Tampa up to plus 14.5, great value. You take Detroit just to win, I can't really argue there. I think the side here is Tampa plus the 7.5. I think it's just a little bit too many points. Ride Baker one time, see what happens here if they can get a good showing here on the road. But be very careful, because Detroit can light people up for sure. Next one on the line, Indianapolis Colts against the Green Bay Packers. Colts are laying 3. Your over-under on that game is 40. 77% of the tickets, 79% of the handle. Those are flowing the way of the Colts. The Green Bay Packers, this is just a hard game to handicap because you're either just going to say, hey, I'm going to take the dog here just to be a total contrarian, or hey, I'm going to believe in the Packers defense. I'm going to believe in Packers being at home. The fact that the Colts defense, we know that's not very good. But look, Anthony Richardson, he looked incredible. I don't think the Colts got enough credit for how they played against Houston this past weekend. And my biggest problem on the handicap with this one is I really think Malik Willis is horrible. Okay, like I feel pretty comfortable about that statement. So if I feel comfortable about that statement, the fact that the line went from 3.5 to 3, that really worries me a ton. Really worries me a ton, and especially when all the money and all the bets are still going the Colts' way. However, the line's moving away from the Colts, right? And there's even a couple, as I see here, there's even a couple 2.5s in some spots, right? Now, me personally, I'm not going to lie, full disclosure, I took the Colts on the money line minus $1.40. I just felt like, it's some way I just can't envision. I think Matt LaFleur is a good coach, but I just can't envision Malik Willis. I mean, the guy had to make one throw last week and just get it to the end zone and couldn't get there. He hasn't showed anything at Tennessee. I just don't see Malik Willis being able to score points. Obviously, this whole thing about Jordan Love, he may or may not play. That guy's not playing. He's out a couple weeks. So I think the Colts get the win here, but I do think it's kind of a sucker. They're trying to pull you in with the spread, but I think the Colts here on the money line are definitely the safe play on that one. Now, Indianapolis, the total's gone over 5 of their last games they faced Green Bay. So when these two teams match up, the last 5 meetings we went over the total. Indianapolis 4-1 ATS their last 5 games against the Packers, but the Packers are 4-1 against the spread their last 5 games overall. That dating back to that phenomenal playoff run they had last year. Next on the board, Cleveland Browns at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars laying 3. Your over-under is 41.5. 71% of tickets, 66% of the handle on the Jaguars, compared to 29% of the tickets on the Browns and 34% of the handle. Your over-under, it's split pretty even, 54-46. And as far as handle, 60% to the under, 40% to the over. When I look at this, Jacksonville, going back to some notes here, 4-1 against the spread their last 5 versus Cleveland. We know how great that Cleveland defense was last year, but that was at home. On the road, they were a much different team. I got no faith in Deshaun Watson. Now, Jacksonville's went under the total their last 5, but Cleveland's went over the total their last 5 games on the road. Again, I think not having Nick Chubb back there is a huge thing for the Browns. Deshaun Watson's going to have to make throws, and quite frankly, since year 2 of Houston, I don't think he can do that, right? He hasn't shown anything to allow me to believe that he can get the Browns, even though they got weapons. Look, Browns, and this blows my mind. What if Baker was still there? I mean, you got Jerry Jeudy, you got Njoku, you got Amari Cooper. I mean, the Browns have weapons, and they have a really good D. I think Kevin Stefanski is one of the best coaches in the league. I think him and O'Connell, I look at them and I'm like, okay, yeah, they're the next McVay, Shanahan type guys. They're really bright minds. But, man, the Browns got to figure out this quarterback thing. And I think if this game is into the third quarter and the Browns are down 2 possessions, I think you got to look to Crab Leg Winston. I really, really do. I mean, you're going to have to make a move because the Browns are just too talented. Now, on the other side, I've been very disappointed with Doug Peterson. I was a Doug Peterson believer. When he went to Jacksonville, I was like, all right, y'all all know how much I love, Trevor Lawrence. But he just, again, Jacksonville really had that game won last week against Miami. You have the 99-yard drive. ETN fumbles in the end zone. Jaguars had a couple other comedic errors where they just didn't play well, right? Jaguars missed so many opportunities. They'd have a play action, hit a big throw down the field, gash Miami with the run, and then something stupid would happen. Excuse me. If Jacksonville can clean that stuff up, okay, now I'm a believer, and they're a contender in that AFC South. But again, Cleveland's defense, it hasn't ever traveled. So I think right now I wouldn't lay 3. I do think Jaguars, you could parlay them on that money line with the Colts. If I was going to lay points, I would definitely lay the 3 with the Jags. I don't feel anything that tells me that the Cleveland Browns with Deshaun Watson can go on the road and get a win. There's just nothing there I see that they can do on that. Watson is 33, 34, and 2 ATS in his career. But as an underdog, Deshaun Watson is 19 and 14 against the spread, but over the first 2 weeks of the season, right? So he gets his sea legs under him because the first 2 weeks of the season, 3 and 7 straight up and ATS over the first 2 weeks of the season. Now, the Browns, they are much better against the AFC rather than the North. Kevin Stefanski, 25-20-1 against the spread when he's not playing an AFC North opponent. So if you can take the Steelers, Bengals, and Ravens out of it, 25-20-1 against the spread is Kevin Stefanski. Trevor Lawrence in his career, 31-22 to the under. But under Doug Peterson, Lawrence just a tick above 500, 19-17 against the spread. Next game we're going to, and this one, this is the hold your nose game of the week for me. Full disclosure, I bet them. It's strictly going off numbers base, right? Because anybody with like common sense to just think would be like, oh, well, the easy play is San Francisco. Didn't go that way. 49ers minus 5.5. You're over under 46.5. 85% of the bets right now are on the 49ers. 71% of the handles on the Niners. 15% of bets to the Minnesota Vikings. Only 29% of the handle. So we'll be ultra contrarian. We're going to go with the Minnesota Vikings. Now, Sam Darnold, 8-11-1 against the spread when he's coming off a straight-up win in his career. Darnold, 23-33-1 against the spread in his NFL career. Now, I know you can't take a whole lot. Again, we talk about overreaction. Overreaction being, okay, I'm not going to give a whole lot of credence to the Minnesota Vikings win over the Giants because I know the Giants are horrible. I handicapped them over the summer, and I was like, geesh, this team is never going to get to 5 wins, right? So I don't believe just because they went in there and beat the Giants that they're all of a sudden this good team. I don't believe that. I do believe in O'Connell, and I do believe in Flores. Brian Flores, I say, he's one of the 3 best defensive minds in the league. Okay, should have never lost his job at Miami, but that's for another day. San Francisco looked really good against a Jet team that's like trying to get their legs. And you got to remember, Saleh worked with Shanahan. He knows them, knows how to pick them apart, right? When I look at this, I just think Flores is going to have enough exotic things to give Brock Purdy trouble. Again, the other thing is, this was, the 49ers played at home. When you go on the road, and I say this all the time, it is hard to win games on the road. And one of my biggest rules, I always talk about rules of handicapping. BreakTheBoardSports.com will set up a roadmap for you. Again, use promo code NFL50 to get half off any package. You don't just get plays, you get notes to help you become a better handicapper. But one of my rules is I'm not laying points on the road. You say, well, what's that mean, John? If I have a minus 2.5 to even a minus 4-point favorite, I will lay more juice and play the favorite on the money line. I'm just not laying points on the road. I'm just not going to do it. It hasn't worked for me in 21 years. I'm not going to start doing it now. Okay. So San Francisco, yeah, they're the much better team. I can't deny that. They looked great without CMC. CMC might have a small package of plays. If it were me, I wouldn't play him on that turf. But look, Minnesota, they have a good offensive line. They have a good defense. Justin Jefferson, if he makes a play, all right, if Aaron Jones pops a run, right, so anything can happen. And look, I've said in that Minnesota stadium, that's a tough place to play. It gets loud in there, and especially start blowing that arm, right? Tough place to play. I think Flores is going to dial up enough things to get Purdy off his spot. Now, 49ers have covered the spread in their last 5 road games. Shanahan 8-2 with the 49ers coming off short rest, covering the spread by 7 points a game. So some awesome stats there as far as that goes. However, San Francisco 5-1 ATS their last 6 on the road. But Minnesota, when they've been matched up with San Francisco and the game has been in Minnesota, Minnesota is 5-0 against the spread the last 5 against San Francisco in that spot. And Minnesota is 10-1 against the spread the last 11 games when they've played San Francisco at home. So 5-0 straight up the last 5 at home against San Francisco, and 10-1 against the spread the last 11 games when they've played at home against San Francisco. Again, I know it's a hold your nose, close your eyes, don't turn the TV on, don't check your phone. Just take the Vikings, but I'm telling you, the books want you to take the 49ers here. I'll go the other way. We're going to grab the Minnesota Vikings. I got them at 5.5. Hopefully that creeps back up to 6. I feel like if I could have got it when it was 6.5, I'd have bought the hook to put it to 7. But hey, such is life. Next game on the board, Seattle Seahawks at the New England Patriots. Seahawks laying 3.5. Seahawks getting 57% of the tickets, 76% of the handle. Your over-under is setting at 38.5. Now, this is some weird numbers. The tickets are about even. 54% of the tickets to the under, 46% of the tickets to the over. But the handle, 88% of the handle to the under, only 12% to the over there. Seattle laying 3.5 at the New England Patriots. Now, the total has gone over in 5 of Seattle's last 5 games when they've played New England, but it's gone under in 7 of Seattle's last 8 road games. So a little flip-flopper there. But the under for New England, they've hit that 4 of their last 5 games at home, has the New England Patriots. Obviously, the Patriots win on the road. They had that big win against Cincinnati. Now, Geno Smith, 10-16-1 against the spread in his career, and he's 22-17-2 as an underdog. Obviously, he's the favorite here, though, so that 10-16-1 against the spread is definitely something to look at. As a favorite of 4 points or more, which we're right there. We're not there yet, but if this line was to go to 4, because it's at 3.5, Geno is 2-8 ATS in his career, right? So, again, just another thing to look at here is you got a Seattle team making the longest trip of any NFL team that'll make this year. They got to go all the way to the East Coast for a 1 o'clock game against a team that looks to have a decent defense, right? And let's be honest with ourselves. Seattle won last week, but did they really look good against a rookie quarterback and a team in a rebuild? I mean, I didn't think so. I didn't think so at all. I wasn't impressed at all with Seattle. Now, look, I love Seattle's weapons. Walker, he's on my fantasy team. They got Metcalf and Jigba, Lockett. Like, I love Seattle's personnel. The quarterback is my question, right? And they're stuck with Geno Smith because Sam Howell is worse than Geno Smith, right? So they're really, really in a bad spot here. Now, Geno, he's a 500 quarterback. He'll get you, but he's not going to win you that division, one that features Brock Purdy, Matthew Stafford, and Kyler Murray. I mean, Geno's the 4th best quarterback, right? But this is a tough spot for Seattle. And again, laying points on the road can be an issue. I think right now you take New England plus 3.5. If you'd like, you can lay $1.20 by the half point, take it up to plus 7. I love plus 7s. Again, plus 4. Sorry, apologize. I'm a guy that if it's a 6.5, I'm going to buy it to 7. If it's a 3.5, I'm going to buy it to 4. If it's a 2.5, I'm going to buy it to 3. I want those. I don't want to get beat by the half point. That's going to happen enough just through pure attrition. But look, I think New England is the side here. I just don't have faith in Geno Smith to get this one across the finish line. New York Giants versus the Washington Redskins. Man, this should be a doozy. I was kind of making a joke to a buddy. I said, man, I got to watch the Giants Redskins. And then I was like, oh, yes, my daughter's got a softball game at 1 o'clock. I won't have to watch it. Because, listen, it's really tough being a Skins fan Washington, 83% of the tickets on them, 71% of the handle, compared to 17% of the tickets on the Giants, 29% of the handle on them. Now, the Giants are 5-0 against the spread their last 5 games when they've played in Washington. Giants 6-1 against the spread their last 7 games overall against the Redskins. Washington has gone over the total in 7 of their last 9 games. Now, Daniel Jones, this guy, he's just not a good quarterback. However, coming off of a straight up loss, Daniel Jones is 21-14 against the spread in his career. So, on top of that, Daniel Jones, if he could just play, and this just is a credit to how bad Washington is. Daniel Jones is 5-1-1 straight up and 6-1 against the spread in his career against Washington, as to where the rest of the NFL, he's 19 games below 500. So 6-1 ATS, 5-1-1 straight up. The Giants, especially with Daniel Jones at quarterback, have owned Washington. I think the Giants are a great teaser partner here, right? If you're a 6-pointer because you're, really, really overly conscious about juice, great. You get the Giants plus 7.5. If you want to take them 7-pointer like I do, lay a little bit more juice, but get the extra point with the touchdown, now you're at plus 8.5. Now 21-13 still doesn't beat you. 20-12 in a field goal battle still doesn't beat you. 17-9 in a field goal battle still doesn't beat you. 28-20 still doesn't beat you, right? So, again, I like that 8. I think 8, especially with 2-point conversion, just if you watch scores and all, 8, I can make the argument is more of a key number than 6, as to where 7's always been a key number, right? So, again, I don't think you can take Washington here. I mean, they're clearly going to be where the public goes. Obviously, pros and Joes alike are piling up on Washington. I don't have the cojones to take the Giants straight up because they are on the road. So the 1.5 doesn't intrigue me, but I will have the Giants in some teaser plays. Again, I think plus 8.5. And again, even if you want to do a 6-pointer, plus 7.5, you could tease the Giants with the Cowboys. You could tease the Giants with the Baltimore Ravens down the win. I think you can find some value teasing them with the Minnesota Vikings like we talked about. So there's a lot of different teaser opportunities and partners you could use with them. Teasing Houston down to beat Chicago Sunday night. I'm not crazy about laying 6.5 with Houston, but I do think they get across the finish line. I think that stage is way too big for Caleb Williams, and I think there's a huge coaching mismatch from DeMeco Ryans to Eberflus. I mean, Ryans is 5 times the coach Eberflus is. So the Giants, they're a great teaser partner, but I'll have no play on this game itself. Next one on the board is the New York Jets looking to bounce back. They're going to face the Tennessee Titans. Jets laying 4, getting 75% of the tickets, 65% of the handle. Titans, 25% of tickets, 35% of the handle. Your over-under sets at 41. Ticket count about split on the over-under. However, the over is only receiving 16% of the handle compared to 84% of the handle swinging by way of the Jets. Now, look, teams after they've played in Soldier Field. Titans were just in Soldier Field. Ask Will Levis if he liked it there. I still don't know what that bonehead was doing. Pretty funny, though, that the coach said it would be easier if they would have just punted. I mean, that tells you all you need to know about Will Levis. Thank you to our sponsor, Starbucks. They're not really a sponsor, but they get me through my day. So always appreciate them there. But anyway, after Soldier Field, teams are 98, 62-2 ATS. That's 61% over the last 20 years. Thanks to Action Network for that one. But underdogs of 4+ points to lead by 17 at any point in the game are 66-1 ATS. The Titans obviously blowing that. The Jets, they didn't look very well at all. I know Aaron Rodgers, he wasn't really on his spot. He looked like a statue back there. But again, and I think this has been beat to death all week long, is it's going to take the Jets a little bit of time. Garrett Wilson's a monster, right? Hall in the backfield's a monster. The Jets got weapons to get things done. I think it's just going to take time. And I think now it's also going to show up, which everybody made Zach Wilson and all the quarterbacks last year, the fall guys, is Nathaniel Hackett really a good play caller? Right? I mean, let's just be real. I mean, that's kind of been put on the back burner. I'd like to bring it back to the forefront. He's just not a good play caller. He's not an offensive coordinator, right? He's a good babysitter. But I do think Aaron Rodgers, give him a couple games, let him get going. That defense is elite. They just had a really bad night against a really phenomenal offensive mind, maybe one of the best we've ever seen in the league in Kyle Shanahan, and a team in the 49ers that are light years ahead of them right now. But I think the Jets will be fine. You give them time to get their sea legs under them, like I said. Now, the last 12 times they've played Tennessee, the Jets 10-2 against the spread. And 6-2 ATS, their last 8 against Tennessee when they're in Tennessee. So the Jets have had a lot of success in the past playing there. In Tennessee's last 22 home games, that has ticked to the under in 16 of those. Obviously, a lot of people got a hold of that trend because 84% of the handle is to that under of 41 as it sets this morning. Again, I do think the Jets will have a better showing. I'm not a fan of laying 4 here. I do think, though, the Jets, you put them in a money line parlay, like we said, with the Jags or with like Dallas. The Jets, I feel comfortable they're going to win the game. You just can't bet Will Levis. I can't even take the points with Will Levis. So that's something to stay away from altogether. Los Angeles Rams at the Arizona Cardinals. Now, the Rams had opened up a 1.5-point favorite. This one has flipped over to the Cardinals -1. 70% of the tickets on the Rams, only 30% on the Cardinals. Your over-under Rams, your handle Rams 53%, 47% of the handle on the Cardinals. Your over-under is set at 48 with 63% of bets to the over, 65% of the handle to the over. Sorry, I lost my spot here. Now, the Los Angeles Rams, I don't know. I mean, Sean McVay does such a good job at scheming up stuff. And I know Nakua is out. They're still having problems on that offensive line. Luckily for them, the Arizona Cardinals, their defense is atrocious. And again, I'll say this, and I'm never going to call for anybody's job, but I just don't understand how you hire a defensive head coach and the defense stinks, right? But Kyler Murray's going to put up some points. I know there was some stuff this week with him and Harrison. Expect him to find Harrison. I think Harrison's prop to score a touchdown is good. I love Cooper Kupp's prop to score a touchdown. I'm not a prop guy. Last night, I played my first prop of the year. I had Cook to score a touchdown, and he made sure that everybody knew he scored one because he scored 3. So that worked out for me. But I do love Cooper Kupp in this spot to get across the goal line. Now, the Rams, 5-0 against the spread, their last 5 in Arizona. In all 5 of those games, they won straight up as well. The total has gone over in 7 of Arizona's last 8 games on the road. Now, listen, I think this is a really good chance for Kyler Murray and the Cardinals to kind of get right. I know that Rams defense looked really good at Detroit, but they lost a heartbreaker. And that was a really, really tough game. And they're really young. The Rams are really young on the defensive side of the football. So when I look at that, I'm like, all right, are they able to muster up that again and chase Kyler Murray around? Because Jared Goff isn't going anywhere, right? You can kind of blitz, kind of keep him in the pocket. Kyler Murray can get away from you and create all kinds of issues. And the way that Detroit ran the football, right, I was also like, okay, Arizona ran the football really good last week too, albeit against another bad defense. The Rams have taken 8 of the last 10 here straight up. And so, I mean, I understand why it flipped. I understand why this flipped to the Cardinals as being the favored. But I just can't get there with that. Like we said, the Rams, they've hit their team total over as well, 7 of their last 8. If you bet that blindly, you're up 5.9 units, 58% return on your investment. And the Cardinals have hit their team total over 6 of the last 8 games at home, plus 3.95 units, 40% of their 40% return on your investment. I think the Rams, again, I wouldn't play the game straight up. I do think the Rams are a great teaser opportunity. Again, I know you might be saying, man, John, you're talking about a lot of teaser opportunities, but there's some games we love straight up. You know, Minnesota, I love catching points. New England, I love catching points. Jags, I love laying on the money line. So there's some we've talked about straight up. But I just think when you talk about teaser opportunities, if you take a 6-pointer, you get the Rams up over that 7.5. Hey, you take the 7-pointer, you get them up over that 8.5. I just think this is a coin flip game. And in a coin flip game, you can make a case either way. But I think when in doubt, the more points in a coin flip game, obviously, the better off you're going to be to get across the finish line and cash that ticket, because that's the ultimate goal, is making money. Pittsburgh Steelers at the Denver Broncos. This one was 3 for a little while. Went from 2 to 3. Now it's back down to 2.5. 74% of the tickets on the Steelers. 56% of the handle on Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is 4-1 against the spread its last 5 games. They're also 4-1 straight up in their last 5. Denver, though, 5-1 straight up their last 6 games at home when playing Pittsburgh. Here's my issue with this, though. Bo Nix played well against Seattle. I didn't think he looked bad. I think Bo Nix has a lot of promise. I'm just going to go ahead and say I think Bo Nix is going to end up having the best NFL career of any rookie drafted this year. And I'm not just overreacting off week 1. I'm just looking preseason. I'm looking at how they carry themselves. I'm also looking at head coach, right? Bo Nix has Sean Payton. He's won a Super Bowl. He's a brilliant offensive mind. Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels, they got death sentences. They went to 2 horrible franchises that have been horrible for 40 years, both of them, right? Neither one of them have been good since the 80s. The Redskins maybe in the early 90s, the end of Gibbs' run. But those franchises have been horrible, and they both have defensive head coaches that don't have a brain, and neither one of them have any business being a head coach. So it's not just like, oh, Bo Nix is – I think Bo Nix just has a better upside, and quite honestly, he's got a much better situation. I mean, ask Caleb Williams if he'd love to have Sean Payton, because I didn't understand the play calling. I didn't feel like they called plays that helped Caleb Williams. And the kid's already got so much stinking pressure on him that now it's easy for people to make fun of his, painted fingernails running across blades of glass. Like, the kid has enough on him. He needs a good offensive play caller, a good offensive-minded head coach to help him be successful. Or Caleb Williams, we're going to be talking about him being a bust, and I don't even think it's going to be the kid's fault, right? And it also, I think there's a little bit of reality. I look at Miller Moss at USC, and I'm like, man, dude kind of looks better than Caleb Williams did, right? So, again, I think it's not just about the quarterbacks. I think it's about the situation, and the situation is not very friendly to neither Daniels nor Caleb Williams. But back to Denver, I thought they played well, right? I mean, 2 safeties in a game. When do you see that? I thought they ran the ball at times well. Bo Nix made some mistakes, but that's rookie stuff. But I think Denver hung in there. The problem is Pittsburgh's defense is just, I mean, TJ Watt, what part of put 3 guys over there and stop him from getting to the quarterback don't teams understand? Why they continue to let that guy get loose is beyond me. Now, listen, when Sean Payton's teams are underdogs in September or October, he's 29-12-1 against the spread. He does a very, very good job in this situation over his career, has Sean Payton. 74% of the tickets on the Steelers, only 26% on Denver, but the money split kind of 50-50 here. Now, since the Steelers, since Ben Roethlisberger's moved on, they're 21-14-1 ATS. Mike Tomlin as a road favorite, 32-40-2. So Tomlin and the Steelers, not so good as a road favorite. When they're -3 or higher on the road, Tomlin 21-35-2 against the spread. That's only 38%. So as good as Pittsburgh looked against the Falcons, I don't think the Falcons are all that great. Your over-under is setting at 36.5. Low total line means it's going to be low points, which means it's going to be a close game. Don't want to beat a dead horse here, but I think Denver's a great teaser spot. Listen, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, bring back Mark Malone, Mason Rudolph, whoever Pittsburgh wants to throw out there, right? Bubby Brister, what's that guy doing now? Anything Pittsburgh wants to do at the quarterback position with the options that they have, they will not run away from a team all year long. Excuse me. They will just not do it. Pittsburgh will be in a dogfight every game of the year. That defense will have to stand up. Tomlin's going to keep the ball on the ground with Najee Harris and Warren and try to pound it behind that offensive line. And then he's going to tell Fields, Wilson, whoever it is, hey, I need you to scramble out of the pocket 3 or 4 times for a 10, 15-yard run, and they're going to kick a lot of field goals. That's Pittsburgh's recipe, right? So they're not going to run away from Denver. I could make the argument here. I think Denver +3 is the side because until Fields or Wilson show me they can stretch the ball down the field, I just can't be about that life. And you're on the road. Remember, laying points on the road is not a recipe for success. You may get by with it a time or two, but over the long haul, it's not going to work out for you. You're not going to be able to turn a profit. And again, if you're not betting to make a profit, if you're just doing it for entertainment, find something else, right? You can't go wasting money when you could make money at this. Again, breaktheboardsports.com. NFL 50 all caps will get you half off any package. Couple more games here to get through. Cincinnati Bengals at the Kansas City Chiefs. Again, I don't expect T. Higgins. Chase turned down that $140 million deal. 81% of tickets on the Chiefs, only 19% of the tickets on the Bengals. And then it's landslided on the handle as well, with 74% of the handle on the Chiefs, only 26% on the Cincinnati Bengals. Mahomes, 38, 42, and 2 against the spread in his career as a favorite by more than a field goal, right? And he's 12 and 8 ATS in September. But listen, I don't know. I don't want to overreact, right? Overreacting is not a good thing to do. Burrow, when Burrow's outside of the AFC North, 26-14-1 straight up, which is a very good mark. Now, September, October, we all know the thing about Burrow in the first 2 games of the season. But Burrow 14-6-1 against the spread after a straight-up loss, and he's 9-2-1 against the spread in September and October. But in that same time period, September and October games on the road, right? When Joe Burrow's on the road in September or October, he's 10-3 against the spread. On top of that, Kansas City 5-0 straight up its last 5 games and ATS. The total has gone under 5 of the Bengals Chiefs last games when they've been played in Kansas City. So when these 2 teams hook up in Kansas City, the total has went under. For this one, listen, the Bengals are the only team that have had true success against the Chiefs. I don't want to be a prisoner of the moment with the New England game. I think Cincinnati will respond differently. We're going to go ahead and grab the 6.5 here and buy it up. Going to lay $1.35 to get the Bengals +7. I don't think the Chiefs blow them out. I do think the Chiefs probably find a way to get this one late, but I think it is going to be a very tough, competitive game, and it better be, because if it's not a tough, competitive game, this isn't your typical start 0-2 like the Bengals have the past couple of years. This is you started 0-2 and you got beat by a team that could still possibly be the worst in the league when it's all said and done, right? Let's not let 1 week, define everything. But also the best team, you're the only one that has stacked up against them and pushed them to the brink, and you got railroaded by them, right? So Cincinnati needs to respond here. I expect them to respond. Again, if you find a 6.5, which there's a couple out there, it's going to cost you $1.30 to $1.35. If you have 6 out there, it's going to cost you $1.40, $1.45. But Cincinnati +7. Again, if you're looking for teaser options, 7-point teaser gets you to 13. I think you're safe in that. The Bengals, they could pull one out here, but I do like them to get across the finish line and cover the spread on that one. Sunday Night Football, This is another huge landslide. Bears at Texans. Texans are laying 6.5. Right now, your over-under sits at 45.5. Over-under pretty much even on ticket count and handle. But on the spread, that's a completely different story with this 6.5. 79% of the tickets on the Texans, only 21% of the tickets are on the Bears. 83% of the handle on the Texans compared to 17% of the handle on the Bears. So huge landslide here. Everybody going with Houston. Now, Chicago, 6-2, its last 8 games ATS. Houston, 7-0, straight up its last 9 games at home. Again, I think if you tease down the favorite here, Baltimore, Houston, Dallas, Houston, you throw Houston with somebody else, I do think Houston wins. I'm going to stay away from the game just because I don't want to back the Bears, right? I don't trust them, even though it would be an ugly dog play. I just can't get there with them. I'm not an Eberflus fan. Like I said, I think there's a huge, huge gap in coaching here. So there's nothing there that I want to look at and get involved in. So when we look at it, we'll break down the Monday night game on Monday's show, 9:30 Eastern time. Again, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we're on here. Atlanta at Philly. Philly laying 6.5. 85% of tickets are on the Eagles and 90% of the handle. That's actually up a little bit. The Falcons only had 6% of all money yesterday when I looked. They're up to 10% now. So good job, Falcons. Look, you got to buy the half point and take Atlanta +7 if that holds. All the books are going to need Atlanta. I'd rather be on the side of the books. Maybe you only make it a half unit play, right? Don't go crazy because we all know Kirk Cousins in primetime games, yada, yada, yada. And we all know Raheem Morris has a horrible head coaching record. So I get all that. But just one of those ugly dogs you kind of got to hold your nose and take. But again, a couple things like here. I like Minnesota catching points at home, and I like New England catching points at home. I think you have some good teaser opportunities. Ravens, Texans, teasing the Giants up, teasing the Broncos up. So there's plenty of teams for really good teaser situations that you can play. I know yesterday we went through, Wednesday rather, we went through college football. We said we liked Texas State +3, and then the line got totally switched around. So I hope you either didn't bet it, or if you did bet it, you took the +3 when we were talking about. But listen, tonight, this UNLV game's all the way up to 9.5. There's a couple 10 out there. UNLV +10 is the play. And on top of that, 2 teams, 7-point teaser for a double unit. Let's just go with the 9.5. So those people that don't get the 10 are in a good spot. So that would mean you take UNLV up to +16.5 with K-State pick. That's what we're going to do there for a double unit and then a single unit on UNLV +10. Couple other college football things rolling here. Alabama -16 at Wisconsin. Alabama's getting 82% of the ticket count, 87% of the handle. Florida State, I didn't think it would get here, but it finally touches 7. I don't think it'll be there long. If you're a Memphis lover and you want Memphis, I would hop on this because I can't envision that 7 staying up there very long. Cincinnati has moved to -4 over Miami of Ohio. LSU's laying 6.5 on the road at South Carolina. Missouri and Boston College. Boston College a little bit ahead here in both the ticket count and the handle. Boston College has the edge. In the handle, 65% of the money on Boston College, 35% to Mizzou. Texas A&M and Florida, that line, it keeps bouncing around everywhere. It's been up as high as 4.5. Then it was down to 4. Then it was down to 3 this morning. Now it's back to 3.5. That thing's all over the place. I think if you can get a 3.5 with Florida, that'd be the way to go. I know Texas A&M's defense looked great, but they're on the road at Florida. And look, Texas A&M quarterback, he stinks too. Oregon at Oregon State. Again, Oregon laying 16.5, 65% of bets on Oregon State, 62% of the money on Oregon State. I know Oregon has not looked good. Oregon State has won the last 2 games in this series when it's been played in Oregon State. They've won outright. But listen, I just think the fact that they're the trendy dog, these trendy dogs usually end up getting killed. I'm not, if you feel good with Oregon State, please stay with your bet. Don't let me talk you out of it. I just think if you're on the fence and you don't know what side, this is a great game to sit out, right? Because Oregon State can make it 3 in a row over Oregon in Oregon State, right? But I can also see Oregon finally getting this thing right and just exploding for one of their 50, 60-point episodes. So I can see this going either way. Again, if you feel strongly about a side, man, stick with your bet and roll with it. If you're on the fence, again, there's so many games. Please don't ever make a bet just to make a bet. That's the worst bet to ever make. If you need to have action on a game, that's the worst bet to ever make. Purdue and Notre Dame, it's down to 9.5. About 60% of the tickets Notre Dame way, 40% going to the way of Purdue. And then Saturday night here, Georgia at Kentucky. This thing has dropped to Georgia minus 21.5. However, 93% of bets and 93% of the money are on Georgia, and yet it's went from 24.5 to 21.5. Don't really understand that, but I'll set that out. I don't want any parts of that. Colorado State, Coach Prime, 39% of tickets their way, 61% Colorado State's way. There is a couple areas there where Colorado State, you can find some 7.5s. I would do that if you could find them. Again, great value there on that. If you can get a 7.5, couple money line things that kind of have my interest peaked. I haven't pulled the trigger yet. Maryland bit us last week in the teaser, but I almost feel like they bounced back here against Virginia. Right now they're laying 2.5, 76% of bets Maryland way, 77% of the handle going their way as well. Again, click subscribe for us. Go to breaktheboardsports.com. Use promo code NFL50 in all caps. Get half off of any package that you have. Again, we'll be back on Monday. Go to the website. It'll have all the notes up. Once you put the promo code in, you'll get the plays for the weekend, all the notes. All the college will be up middle of the day today. All the NFL will be up by first thing in the morning as we finish those up with the team here. And we look forward to having a great weekend and turning a profit. Again, you can always catch us on TikTok. Follow us on X, Break the Board Sports. Y'all have a blessed day and happy handicapping.